There is actually another unit of temperature used by scientists, and we'll see why in just a bit. That unit is called Kelvin. Because it's a unit of temperature, we ought to be able to convert from degrees Celsius to Kelvin. And we can. The formula is K equals C plus 273. Now, back in our spreadsheet, let's label column C Kelvin, and we'll give that the same styling as our other column headers. Now, can you program a formula here in cell C2 to convert from degrees Celsius into Kelvin? Pause the video and give it a try. Great. In cell C2, we type the formula equals B2, because that cell represents the Celsius temperature, plus 273, and press enter. Now, you can either autofill if that option comes up, or if it doesn't, like for me, I can select cell C2, click on the blue box on the bottom right corner, and drag fill all the way down to the bottom of my data set. Great. Now, let's take a look at these Kelvin numbers. Do you notice anything? I noticed that they're really, really, really big. In fact, 0 degrees Celsius is equivalent to 273 Kelvin. These Kelvin numbers are much larger than either degrees Celsius or degrees Fahrenheit. What makes Kelvin a little different is that it is an absolute temperature scale. So 0 Kelvin is called absolute zero. This is when particles have zero kinetic energy or energy of motion. So let's think. In terms of particle motion, what's the difference between 0 degrees Celsius and 0 Kelvin? That's right. 0 degrees Celsius is still 273 Kelvin, which means that particles still have plenty of kinetic energy. That's not even close to 0 Kelvin when the particles have zero kinetic energy. So let's find out when particles do have zero kinetic energy. Now, to get all the way down to absolute zero, we'll have to drag fill this Kelvin column until it reaches 0. But first, we'll need to fill in more values in column A and then column B. So let's do some drag filling. Drag fill our column B. Let's see, we're at negative 100 degrees Celsius. Now we can drag fill column C and see if we get to 0 Kelvin. Not yet. We're still at 173 Kelvin. So we need to keep going. Drag fill some more Fahrenheit values. Now we can drag fill the corresponding Celsius values. Let's see, we're at negative 168 degrees Celsius. Let's see if that's 0 Kelvin. Not quite, we're at 104 Kelvin. So we're just gonna keep going. Drag fill our Fahrenheit. Yikes, that's really cold. Negative 394 degrees Fahrenheit. Drag fill the Celsius. And finally the Kelvin. Not quite absolute zero. We're still at around 36 Kelvin, but we're getting really close. So let's see. 21.8 Kelvin. Really close. We're at negative 448 degrees Fahrenheit. Can't even imagine how cold that is. Up really close, 6 Kelvin. And I think we've done it. So here we have, let's see, the row in our data table that just about corresponds to 0 Kelvin.